teammates, George Zambetti and Tom Sullivan, here with us now. And guys, overall, first things first. I'll start with you, George. Just give me your thoughts on the ceremony today. What are you looking forward to, and how's it been so far, just being here and seeing your teammates?
Oh, it's been outstanding. We had a great night last night at the dinner, and Digger was there, and it was just fun to see everybody. It was, 52 years later, it seems like yesterday.
I could tell when you guys, talking in the back there, it seems like you guys are just all right back to when you were, 50 years ago,
right.
Which is so awesome. And I think that shows really how close your team was.
Well, I think that was a big part of the success. We were really good friends. We had come off a year before where we struggled a little. That was my sophomore year and Charlie and Jack's junior year. And we thought we were better than that. And then we added, Kenny obviously was a great addition, and Bart Woiterwitz, a good size addition. George didn't play that year when before Digger came. So we knew we were going to be a lot better just from personnel. But I think one of the things that struck us was how close we were and how Digger managed to bond us. Sometimes he was a real pain in the neck. We were doing drills. I forget, he had this harness where you'd pull on the door, and we'd tie ourselves to the door and pull on the harness. We thought he was nuts. And then intervals, Kenny ran out of socks in intervals because, he was always complaining about his sneakers. But we ran him into the ground, and we became a team that was very close, and we were in great shape.
Yeah, you can go to either of you, but, you guys can both, give your end to this. But at what point in the year was it like, okay, we've got something here? Maybe it had clicked for game one, but you guys started to realize you had something special.
I think when we went down to Florida and we played Miami University of Florida under very adverse conditions and hostile crowds, and we're able to beat those teams. That to me was a turning point.
Yeah, I thought a turning point was the Rochester tournament. We were playing against Cal, and they had a great reputation. They'd come east, and we blew out the first. I don't know who we beat in the first game, but we just blew them out. And then we played against Cal, and I think that put us on the national map. Again, I agree with
No, Sully, I have to correct you. We played Cal first.
Oh, okay.
And then we blew out Rochester.
Oh, that's it. That was
126
yes, that's
to
it.
70-something.
Yeah.
It was like crazy.
126?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to say Charlie had 46. We were talking about.
That was that. Okay, yes.
That was Charlie's,
That was a school record at the time.
Yeah. It still is, I would
I assume. I know definitely.
46 points.
I mean, I don't know who's eclipsing that.
That
It's
was
hard
his
to get to
coming
that
out party
level.
for the pros.
Love it.
But I
love
think
it.
that put us on a national scene. But, it was funny. I think our opening game was Yale.
You guys played Yale, you
Yeah.
beat them 74-56 at the Rose Hill Gym. Your first 4 games were at the Rose Hill
Yes.
Gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good scheduling.
Tom, for you personally, you mentioned kind of, playing in 69 and 70 the year before, and then even, the year after with a solid team in 71 and 72. But what made the 70 and 71 team on its own really different or special in your eyes, which is why, of course, they had so much success?
I think it was our ability to press. We really believed in the press. We bought into it. Digger brought that in, and we went from, we were either in a 1-2-2 or a 2-2-1 press, and it was a rotational press. It kind of fit a lot of our needs in terms of what our skills were. We had very quick kids who understood the game. Everybody had a very high basketball IQ. And we were all kids that played a lot of basketball. Like nowadays, you'll go to a game and you'll see a kid, they throw a ball inside and he drops it. That never happened on our team, And we were able to take advantage of just being very accurate in what we wanted to do. And on the defensive end, really just putting teams at such a disadvantage because they were totally uncomfortable playing against our press.
Yeah, I got a question for you guys. Specific game we've talked about a lot. That Marquette game, Jim Chones, 6'11". You were 2 of the bigger players on the team. What was that matchup like? Trying to go down, start with George, but yeah.
Well, that was one of my jobs. I wasn't going to contribute much offensively, but as the biggest guy, I had to contribute a lot defensively. So Jim Chones, and John Pleck, and people like that that was my job for the most part. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that because I came in as a freshman with George. We were both recruited together. We were roommates freshman year, and we would have to come back to the room. after I considered myself more of a finesse player, and George would beat me over the head. And, he continued to do that to the other team, so we were very fortunate as we moved along. But again, we felt our role was to go in and contribute on the boards and defensively.
George, I'll start with you for this one again here. If you had to pick, you mentioned the Florida game and how important that was and getting things going in the Rochester tournament, but one moment in particular during the season that you may remember the most where you guys feel like as a team you were fully firing on all cylinders, you were fully clicking, and like kind of Mike mentioned earlier, you thought, okay, we're going to make it. This is a potential NCAA tournament team. This is a team that can make a run.
No question in my mind, it was the Holy Cross game. The first 10 minutes in my mind were the best basketball that I have ever been associated with. Holy Cross was a highly ranked team. Not ranked, highly thought of team. And they came into the Rose Hill campus, and after 10 minutes, the score was 32-8. and we would have a series of plays where we would steal the ball on the press 3 or 4 times and score off the press. Holy Cross would call timeout, and Dig would say, "Okay, guys, take the press off." So we'd run out on the court. We would, they would. Let me rephrase it. So we would take the press off. So now, when we scored, and Holy Cross had the ball, they would be taking it out, and they wouldn't see anybody. We were back now, so they were totally discombobulated by the fact that we had, killed them on the press 3 or 4 times in a row, and then they came out thinking that they were going to have a plan to defeat it. And by the time we put on the press again, they would have forgotten what they had been told at that halftime. So that to me was, as I said before, the best 10 minutes of my basketball career.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with him because I was watching that game. I had a sprained ankle, and I remember.
So you had the best seat in the house.
I had the best seat in the house. I remember trying to warm up. They were trying to get. We had a very good. That's when we had a good team physician, Dr. LaPerfido, and he was working on my ankle, putting all sorts of different chemicals into it. But we still couldn't get. I couldn't get back. So I had a great seat for that game, and it was a great game.
Love it.
And we've talked a lot about the different games in Madison Square Garden. We mentioned St. John's, we mentioned Notre Dame. You guys play Manhattan there also at the end of the year. That's become a really big rivalry. That's kind of stayed as kind of the Battle of the Bronx. I'm not sure what your experience was in that game, but how was that playing in Madison Square Garden for that one?
I don't remember that one as well. You probably do.
Yeah, I remember it because one of the fellows on the other team played with me in high school, Bob Gregory, and it was funny. We played very well. We were close with those guys. Brian Mahoney. They were city kids that were in the city, so it was a good game. But we were better than the thing that comes to mind when you mention that. This is a great rivalry, Manhattan, and Fordham. And I was telling the story last night. Bob Gregory, my senior year, which was a year later, I was the captain of this team, and he was the captain of that team. And the officials before the game said to us, and I forget who the official was exactly, but he said, "Listen, fellas, this caused a lot of fights in the stands. We want this game to be a clean game." And at that point, I lunged for Bob Gregory's neck, and I tried to choke him. And the guy said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Now we played high school ball. We never thought about it the way the fight was. We just wanted to play the game."
That's awesome, Tom. I guess my question: do you guys follow the team currently? So do you still hang up around this? So I'm curious. What are your thoughts on what the team's been able to do this year? There's been some comparisons between this team and you guys back in 70 and 71, which is obviously very high praise for what this team and the program's really been able to do this year. Just your thoughts on the group this season.
Well, I think Coach Ergo has done a tremendous job. I think what they've been able to do is extend their defense, pressure people. He's gone deep in the bench. He's utilized his interior people to get easy baskets, and then Quisenberry's been able to come along, similar to a Charlie Yelverton or a Kenny Charles, and act as a scorer. I think for they've just done an exceptional job defensively. Now people come in and they say, how do we score against these guys? And I think they've also done a great job of turning the ball over and scoring it when they get it. They don't have to get into set offenses. They can break down the court and get stuff. So they are very similar to us in that sense.
I would say the biggest change that I've seen is in the student involvement. Because, I've lived through the past, 40 years of men's basketball as a team doctor. And one of the, more discouraging aspects of those 40 years has been the lack of student involvement. And to see it come back like that makes all the difference in the world to me as, a fan, really.
So I got one final question for you guys. The team's back together. You're back on campus. Does it sort of feel like it's almost like it's 1970, 71 all over again?
It's funny. I was thinking of that song, "Oh Cruel Orb That Rules the Night," and it's just one of those things. How fast time goes by. You come back here and our memories just flash back to certain instances.
That's awesome.
And it just becomes very emotional just seeing guys, and knowing the feeling we had for each other then. It was a great time, a very exciting time to be at Fordham, and more exciting to actually be a Fordham basketball player.